and I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat. They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension and everything and the drama.
How dare! Look at this! How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Well, hello and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks News Pack for Wednesday, January 11th. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Live for another news pack. We'll talk about the Flames. We'll talk about the Canucks. Both of them had a lead last night and did not get the results that they won. And so we'll get into the 4 games in the National Hockey League tonight. Some All Star news involving both the Calgary Wranglers and the Abbotsford Canucks, as well as the coaches as well. So lots to get into. Let's start with the Canucks. So where am I? Here, and get into their game. They started first. Let's go through the night show here. So starts off really well for the Vancouver Canucks last night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They, by the way, subscribe, as I said, follow us, subscribe, tell your friends about what we do. We will have a podcast. We're scheduling a podcast tomorrow, post-game Canucks after the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, of course, the Flames play in St. Louis again as well. But let's, again, mention the Canucks here. We'll start there. As it's off to a great start. Connor Garland scores at 4:46, Brock Besser at 6:40, and then Quinn Hughes at 7:05. And the Canucks are off to a 3-0 lead. But this fan base and this season, they do not believe that the Vancouver Canucks can hold a lead. There's been very little evidence that the Canucks could hold a lead in this 2022-2023 season. And they didn't. Evgeny Malkin responds quickly on a power play. Then Sidney Crosby scores, and then Jason Zucker scores, and then they tie the game at 3 after 1. And then Evgeny Malkin scores in the second, and Ricard Raquel scores, and it is 5-3 before Travis Dermott tries to make it interesting for the Canucks. But another night of a loss for the Vancouver Canucks, and they lose 5-4. I think yeoman's work here. Obviously, the penalty kill for the Penguins, I think, was huge. They had there was a 5-on-3 that they killed off. That certainly helped them win this game. And Evgeny Malkin, and just as a guy that it's ridiculous to me that I keep saying this here. I mean, that was late in the second, by the way. There was a too many men on the ice penalty, and then Brock McGinn for tripping. So that penalty kill helped them get that win. That was yeoman's work. But let's start. We'll talk about the Penguins here, and we'll talk about Evgeny Malkin. He is one of the most underappreciated players in National Hockey League history. It remains a mystery to me how this guy was not named a few years ago one of the top 100 players to ever play this game, because he simply is. You talk about Crosby, and I love Crosby. Evgeny Malkin has been a fantastic player and with the Pittsburgh Penguins. just so underappreciated and has a whale of a game last night. In terms of dominance, he has 4 points. Then you get Jason Zucker getting 2 points, and then Dustin Tokarski comes in, makes 17 saves. Really does the Dan Vladar at least allows the Penguins to get back into the game. So, for the Penguins, they find a way to win. For the Canucks, it's the same issues: blown leads, blown defensive coverage. The pairing of Tyler Myers and OEL split last night. But then, your defense pairings are a mess. Your defensive coverage is a mess. It's just not a responsible defensive team, which makes it, it doesn't give you confidence to when you're watching this team with a 3-0 lead. That's why Canuck fans are just flabbergasted. It's 3-0. Well, not anymore. We know that it's starting to. And this fan base is now in the point as we are about to approach after tonight, depending on which game you look at here, the two later games, the halfway point of the season, and the Vancouver Canucks fan base is back at draft lottery simulator again. Now, the excitement about this is the fact that there's a kid named Connor Bedard from North Vancouver that Canucks fans would love to get, so there's at least a little bit of excitement. But it's another year where, last year was a stretch to get into the playoffs. There was a bit of a run, but there wasn't really a feel that they would finally do it. And even if they did, there wasn't a lot of confidence that they would beat Colorado anyway. It feels like another year where we're halfway into the season and we're talking about next year. And I just think for a lot of Canucks fans, it's exhausting to have this conversation again and again and again. And if you were, if there was, a mission from the organization that, okay, we're going to try to take a little bit of a turn here. We know that we have to take a step back, and they've kind of said that, but they haven't really said that. It just feels like this whole organization is in limbo. We're now awaiting a Bo Horvat trade, or are we? Or we're awaiting a Luke Schenn trade. It's just the same. It feels like it's the same soap opera with the same plot line. We just added different characters to try to make it look different, but it's the same thing. And it's hard to watch the Canucks at this particular point in time play hockey right now. And, I think there's fans that want this Canucks team to win, but I think they want to see what is going on in the future, and the future doesn't look completely bright here in Vancouver at this particular point. It's the wrong word is dark, but it's bleak. It's very bleak being a Canucks fan in terms of just the future of the organization. Something we'll talk about here as we go forward with everyone as well, what that feeling is like. But being a Flames fan isn't a cup of tea right now either. They played the St. Louis Blues last night. We talked about this yesterday. It's 2 games in St. Louis, and the fun part about this is these are preferable 8-point games. And the Flames, I thought they got off to, quite frankly, a really sluggish start against the Blues for the first 5 minutes but they found a way to build themselves a 3-1 lead going into the third period. You gotta Kadri, Huberdeau, and Lucic get another goal, which is giving Daryl Sutter evidence to keep that line together, I guess. And then, this is after Pavel Buchnevich, say that 3 times fast. Pavel Buchnevich scores. Lucic, Backlund score quickly in the second, almost to minute 54 apart. And then Andre Mangiapane, his first goal in 12 games, 3-1. But then 2 goals in 28 seconds early in the third. Nikita Alexandrov and Jordan Kyrou. That Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou Buchnevich line was the best line on the ice last night. All due respect for the Backlund Coleman Mangiapane line, that was the best line on the ice. And the Blues then get the win 28 seconds in, and the Flames, while gaining a point, lose a lead and lose a point to the St. Louis Blues, who are behind them in the standings at this point. A lot of people blaming Jacob Markstrom for his goaltending efforts. Seemed like he struggled. I'm not going to dispute that. But at the same time, few other issues going on here as well. Let's ask this question: is Elias Lindholm 100%? I don't look. I was clamoring that Elias Lindholm should win the Selke Trophy last year. I just don't think he has been as effective this year. He hasn't even been close to as effective this year as he was last year, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. Obviously, line mates is one of them. Obviously, the adjustment to what is expected, another one. But I think they legitimately wonder if he is healthy. I think that's a legitimate question here. Kadri, Huberdeau, both of them have generally been inconsistent, I think. There have been times of flashes of good from Jonathan Huberdeau. There's still flashes of struggle. Kadri the same. I also don't think that Nazem Kadri has brought enough bite here to this team. I would like to see a little bit more of that. I think that they are missing. This team at times doesn't look engaged. Like you would have thought after that loss to Chicago that they would have came out to St. Louis and they would have came and tried to get onto the start in the right foot. They didn't. It took them another while to get into the game, and it just feels just hard in that sense. And as well as Andre Mangiapane is playing with Backlund and Coleman, and that has been their best line. He scored his 8th of the year last night on a guy who scored 35 goals last year. That's his first goal in 12 games. And as much as people are criticizing the Milan Lucic decision, do you think there has to be more on Andre Mangiapane in terms of his offensive production? I think there needs to be more. Huberdeau, I think the forward group in general has been inconsistent. I think it would be a fair rating of them. But that, in general, I think that, more needs to be from Dubé, Mangiapane. I think there still needs to be more. I do. I don't think that they've been at that top of that level. Walker Duehr, I thought, played really well last night for his fourth line role. Provide some energy, provide some offense. I think possibly is a guy that can do what Milan Lucic can do at a younger, cheaper rate. That's good. But you brought up Jacob Pelche. I think you got to give him a shot. I really do. I think that this is a guy that has. This is a team that is playing to. It just looks lethargic. It looks like unengaged. It doesn't look emotionally invested at this point. It really feels like there needs to be some sort of energetic spot. It feels comfortable in a lot of different areas. That defense pairing, I don't think Anderson and Hannafin so far have had a good road trip. They need to be better. I think maybe that it's time to blast that defense pairing up a little bit, shake it up here. I think there needs to be some sort of energy dose given in. This looks like a really comfortable hockey team and not in a good way. And that concerns me as we get into the second half of the season. The lack of engagement, the comfort level on everybody, it doesn't feel like they're emotionally into this as much as they were that last year, and they got to find that, or they're not making the playoffs. We look at the standings here, and I did the poll of the Kraken making the playoffs. Yes, they are. They're making the playoffs. They got 52 points. They're 14-4-2 on the road, by the way. They're now 5 points ahead of Calgary and 6 points ahead of Edmonton. They've got points in the bank plus 2 games in hand. So they're in good shape. You've got the Blues tied Edmonton last night for that second wildcard spot in terms of points. Nashville 1 behind. They play the Leafs tonight. Colorado 2 behind. I think everyone is going to assume that Colorado is going to make the playoffs. If you have Seattle in the playoffs, that has 1 spot left, depending on what you think of Minnesota. So this team needs to get engaged. I mean, it's good they got a point, but I think they're leaving points at the bank. They're leaving points on the table, and that's very concerning to me. So we'll see what happens with the Flames. I think they need to make a huge juggle in some ways, and I think it's time for Pelche to be in the lineup. You brought him up, give him an opportunity there, and and they just need more from everybody down this lineup. That's what's concerning for me. I think that's the frustration. As much as people are criticizing Daryl Sutter, I really have been more about the players with the Flames than I have been about Daryl Sutter overall. I just don't feel that they've been emotionally engaged, and I don't know why that is, but that's what I'm saying overall. So that is that story for the Flames and the Canucks. Let's talk about some other news as pertains to the All Star. We'll stick just a little bit with the NHL because they named the coaches of the NHL, and then we'll get into the games tomorrow here. It is the coaches have been named, and both of them are 3 of them were fired. 2 of them were fired last year. Pete DeBoer was fired by the Vegas Golden Knights. He's coaching the Dallas Stars. He's coaching the Dallas Stars now and the Central Division All Star team. Jim Montgomery, of course, was fired a couple seasons ago from the Dallas Stars, now coaching the Boston Bruins, represents the Atlantic Division. Bruce Cassidy was fired last year by the Boston Bruins, is now coaching the Golden Knights and representing the Pacific Division, while Rod Brindamore and his bod is representing the Metropolitan Division. So that is news there in terms of the coaching part. Of course, we had the All Stars named. You have Elias Pettersson representing the Flames, the Canucks, Nazem Kadri representing the Flames. So we're getting votes for the rest. That will come soon. And the AHL All Stars have been named as well. And for the Wranglers, it's Matthew Phillips, who's had an outstanding year, and Dustin Wolf, who's equally had an outstanding year. Of course, we all know, I think, Phillips so far, leading the way with the Calgary Wranglers, second in the league in scoring with 40 points this year. And in terms of goaltending, Dustin Wolf continues to be impressive as well. 208 goals against average, 21 wins, 4 losses, 4 shutouts. Just continues to be impressive as well. So Matthew Phillips, Dustin Wolf join Mitch Love for representing the Calgary Wranglers. Christian Wolanin will join will join as well. You may not know this, but Christian Wolanin is leading the AHL in defensive scoring. 4 goals, 35 assists, 39 points. Here, a nice little sneaky pickup to help here for the Abbotsford Canucks. But he will represent Abbotsford at the AHL All Star game, and so congratulations to both Phillips, Wolf, and Wolanin for that honor. And of course, the All Star game will be coming up here. It's of course same format, that 3-on-3. It's February 5th and 6th in Laval, Quebec. Looking at the games tonight in the National Hockey League, there are 4. 4 games, and we'll have the look at them and have a look at the standings as well as the as we start with Austin Matthews not playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight against the Nashville Predators. I'm sure those that are on Wednesday night hockey are extremely happy to see that, but that is the what's going on here tonight, as it's the Preds taking on the Maple Leafs, and so that's that one game there. And the Leafs, of course, are sitting comfortably in second place, 25-9-7, 6 points ahead of Tampa, 11 points ahead of Boston. And I think one of the negatives of this playoff format is it doesn't look like that looks like a set first round matchup. It looks like we are seeing Tampa and Toronto, and we are 41 games in, and we're preparing for that. Not sure I'm a huge fan of that, but that's where we are at that particular here at this point. And then other games tonight include, we've got Washington taking on Philadelphia. Washington is the first wild card team, 23-14-6 and 52 points, 4 ahead of Pittsburgh. Philadelphia won 4 of their last 5, 16-18-7, 39 points, 9 points out of a playoff spot. Not really not a team that I don't think we're expecting much from them going forward, but in terms of where a playoff run or anything like that. But I think John Tortorella and the Flyers trying to just get that identity back. And so that's that game. The 2 other games tonight are on the West Coast. It's Edmonton against Anaheim. Edmonton having blown a 2-0 lead against Colorado and a not a good performance against LA. Need to go into Anaheim, and this is a needy 2 points. This is the Calgary-Chicago, where Calgary lose that 1 point to Chicago. Edmonton needs to get 2 points out of Anaheim, flat out. How they do it doesn't matter. They're sitting at 45 points. They could tie Calgary for the standings and move ahead of St. Louis with the win. But you're playing Anaheim, who have won 12 games overall here, and have only won 4 regulation games of 41. So this is a should win for Edmonton, flat out. And then the other game is San Jose taking on LA. San Jose at 34 points. LA 2 points ahead of Seattle and 2 points behind Vegas in the Pacific Division there. So that's what's going on. Talked about Austin Matthews, some injury news to pass your way here. We've got Matthews out for the Maple Leafs tonight, undisclosed injury. So he did not practice. He participated in an optional morning skate. Sheldon Keefe says he's day to day. This feels like load management in some ways, but that's where we're at. Patrick Kane, he skated with the coaches prior to practice. Doubtful tonight against the Colorado Avalanche, or doubtful on Thursday against the Colorado Avalanche. Luke Richardson said, "Why push it?" So Kane probably out. Chris Kreider will not play tonight against the Stars due to an upper body injury. He left the third period of a 4-3 shootout win against the Wild. And so Alexis Lafreniere, who was a healthy scratch earlier this month, is going to play on that because of Benajad Capo line tonight. And Rupe Hintz will not play against the Stars, will not play for the Stars against the Rangers on Thursday, also because of an upper body injury. He didn't travel with the team, so Pete DeBoer says it's not concerned about being long term. So that's that injury. But Dennis Malgin, who was acquired for Dryden Hunt from the Toronto Maple Leafs for the Colorado Avalanche, week to week with an upper body injury. He was acquired on December 19th. 1 assist in 7 games with the Avalanche, 5 points in 30 games this year. And they also, in terms of Valerie Nikushin, the Avalanche have been beat up with injuries. He was held back due to lingering issues with his ankle. He's missed 7 straight games after the Avalanche lost to the Panthers last night, 5-4. So that is that. AHL, of course, games tonight. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, which includes Las Vegas versus Bridgeport, Hartford taking on Coachella, Charlotte, Iowa taking on Grand Rapids, Wilkes-Barre, Hershey, Manitoba Moose taking on Toronto, Cleveland taking on Utica, Laval taking on Rochester, Milwaukee taking on Tucson, Ontario taking on the Henderson Silver Knights, and then San Jose taking on San Diego. WHL, there was one final trade, which was very interesting. The trade deadline yesterday that happened after everyone went off after everything else had happened. Dylan Guenther, of course, he got the winning goal for Team Canada and the World Juniors, but he was traded a lot yesterday late from the Edmonton Oil Kings to the Seattle Thunderbirds. Now, some will say that that's weird in terms of why you would do that, but if you're the Arizona Coyotes, Dylan Guenther didn't have an opportunity to play in the Memorial Cup or some of the playoffs last year for the Oil Kings championship run. Would be a good guy to have for a playoff run for Seattle, which it looks like it's a really loading up in terms of an arms race going on there, isn't it? So it was Guenther and Jordan Ramsey and a 2023 8th round pick for Koji Gibson and 7 draft picks. And so massive trade there. But so to me, that trade doesn't happen if someone doesn't know something in terms of what Arizona's plan with Dylan Guenther is. So with that kind of a massive amount, I would think that that is there's a chance that Guenther's going to play. It's a first round pick in 2026, second round pick in 23, 24, 2 fourth round picks, and 2 1/5 and 1 6th round picks. So Dylan Guenther joining Brad Lambert as the Seattle Thunderbirds, who were the favorites coming into this postseason or into the season, could be a threat to be one of the representatives, the WHL champion. Of course, Kamloops hosted Memorial Cup. We could see them there. And in terms of the schedule in the WHL, we've got the Portland Winterhawks taking on the Saskatoon Blades. We got those Thunderbirds taking on the Winnipeg Ice. That should be an interesting game. And then you've got Lethbridge hosting Hurricanes in action. They're hosting the Swift Current Broncos. You got the Red Deer Rebels taking on the Moose Jaw Warriors, and the Giants are in Kamloops to take on the Blazers. And the Silvertips are taking on the Spokane Chiefs. So that will cover the news for today. Reminder again, we've got our podcast tomorrow after Flames, after Canucks post-game podcast. So join us for that. You can follow us all individually on Twitter. Of course, I should mention Fireside Chat, continuing Dan and Matt doing their podcast. And so they'll be back. They're back doing that. You can follow them on Twitter at Fireside Chat. You can follow Sean at Beardy Canuck 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Chris Schneins SCHNAIDZ, Devin Gordhouse 09. I am KEVOLE. Shifts and Pucks Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.